Hi, thanks for joining me. So today I'd like to talk about my PlayStation Vita and 3DS collections. This is in some ways a follow-up to my PlayStation 4 collection video here, which seemed to be pretty well received. It is the end of 2015, so I think it's kind of a nice time to look back and reflect on some of these newer systems and just sort of take stock of the games that I have for them. Now, I did see a video recently that talked about these two systems, and it was interesting because I think it was pretty even-handed in the things that they had to say about each platform. But the person doing the video had a lot more 3DS games. They spent a lot more time with their 3DS, and they only had a couple of PlayStation Vita games. So another little bit of an inspiration for this is that I'm really the opposite. I definitely don't have as many games for the 3DS. I don't spend as much time playing it. I do prefer my Vita. I have a lot of games for it, and I prefer playing that. Not to say that I think either system is bad. I think actually they're both great. But I just wanted to kind of, give you guys my perspective on these. So, just one other note, the format of this video is going to be a little bit different from some of mine just because my webcam software was being very uncooperative, and suffice to say I'm not going to be using that particular webcam anymore. But let's start off with the 3DS here. The 3DS is the first Nintendo handheld that I really went out of my way to purchase, when it was contemporary. I have had some other Nintendo handhelds before, but I've just never been very much of a handheld gamer. This generation, finally, I've come around to realizing that there are so many good games that come out on the handhelds and only on the handhelds, and I've just missed out on all of those for years. The PSP was kind of my first handheld system that I really got into very much and got very many games for it. So, I wanted to pick up the 3DS. I did end up getting it used, but I wanted to get the games while they were new, and that's what I have been doing. So the first game that I got for it is Code of Princess. You guys may be familiar with this, but it's a sword and sorcery, side-scrolling beat-em-up style game, which I thought was really neat. I just, thought the style of it looked really cool, and, when do you see side-scrolling beat-em-up games all that much anymore? Dragon's Crown is, I think, another great example, but, suffice to say, I played this some. I haven't played as much of it as I'd like to, but it's a pretty cool game. I enjoyed what I've played of it so far. Now, in terms of the 3DS library, I'm not one of those people that's a very big first-party Nintendo fan. In fact, I just really, um, you know, I would say I almost don't like, Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong and that sort of thing. And I certainly had exposure to some of those franchises and characters back in the day, and some very fond memories of playing those games. I used to own Super Mario Brothers 3, which I played a lot of. I still have Donkey Kong games on various systems, and I do still play them now and then. But I just don't have a lot of nostalgia, nor am I just that into those games. So you'll notice that the kind of games that I have in this collection are Japanese developed. I really like Japanese developed games, but I tend to like things that are like RPGs, not strictly JRPGs, but like strategy RPGs in particular, action games, sort of things that are more like Japanese-style adventure games, visual novel type things, that sort of stuff. So the next game that I have here I was very interested in is Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, another series that I really haven't run into much before, I did end up picking up one of the games on the DS, I believe. But, aside from, like, maybe having done research on the old Famicom games and stuff like that, I've just never had an opportunity to really play the Fire Emblem games. So this is my first introduction to them. And I did play quite a bit of this game. I think I got I have to have gotten over halfway through, and I was really enjoying it. For some reason, I did get kind of burnt out and put the game down, but I'd like to come back to it. It's definitely a pretty cool strategy RPG series, which I would probably be interested in getting more of on the system if they come out. I also have some of the Etrian Odyssey games for the system. These are games I haven't really gotten a chance to play yet, but I have Etrian Odyssey Untold, the Millennium Girl. I have Etrian Odyssey 4, Legends of the Titan. And I have Etrian Odyssey Untold 2, the Fafnir Knight. So yeah, mostly I kind of went all in on these just because the art style looks good. As far as I've heard, they're like dungeon crawling RPGs, which I think sounds like something that would be right up my alley. And people have had good things to say about them, so I feel pretty confident in just going ahead and picking up multiple games in the series. I think that I will enjoy these when I get a chance to check them out. The last game that I currently have in this collection is Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker. Now, I may be wrong. I have the feeling that this is a remake, maybe, of one of the games, but it may be a completely new game. I'm not sure. But suffice to say, I've really never played any of the Shin Megami Tensei games, or like really any of the spin-offs like the Persona games or anything like that. So, again, I hear that these are kind of dungeon crawling RPGs. At least the SMT games are, and I wanted to check them out. Again, this is contemporary, games coming out for the 3DS, and I really want to support and try out some of those games that seem like they're the kind of games that I'd like to play. So I definitely wanted to pick that one up. But that is the extent of my 3DS collection so far. Now, the one nice thing is that there are definitely games coming up and games that are out now that I definitely want for the system. I could add a handful of other games to the system, to my collection right now, like the Hatsune Miku Project Mirai rhythm game for the system. I'd really like that. There's a game called Moko Moko Friends, which I could be wrong, but it looks like it might be the same game that I think Dungeon RPG was recommending to me, the Japanese version before it came out here. Maybe wrong about that, but suffice to say, it looks interesting. The Stella Glow, a lot of people are saying really good things about that. And there are games coming up that aren't quite out yet that I'd like. The Langrisser game for it. So I'm very pleased with the 3DS. The library of games, I think, definitely has quite a few things in it that I'm interested in having. So I've been enjoying picking up games for that. Let's go over now to my PlayStation Vita game, and or collection, I should say. I'm gonna go through each of the games individually in roughly chronological order. In the order that I picked them up, kind of like I did with the 3DS. I don't remember exactly how it went, but I think that I waited until a game that I really wanted on the system came out, and that was Gravity Rush. So, I went ahead and picked up the system. I was actually happened to be going to a conference at the time, so I believe I got the system, took it to the conference, and then while I was at the conference, I actually went and picked up the game, and I got to play it a little bit while I was on the road. So so that was really fun, and it's a cool game. You guys probably know it's getting a remaster now. They announced a sequel for it, and it's not going to change anybody's life. It's not it's not that amazing, but it's just a competent, fun, interesting game. I think the aesthetic for it is really nice, and it does have a gameplay gimmick that I think is pretty cool. It's the whole sort of gravity manipulation aspect to it, and one of the things that's nice is it does end up giving you these really interesting environments to be able to explore. You do have a collection mechanic that encourages you to explore all of these environments, sort of using gravity and exploring them in various ways that you can't really in other games, which is cool. Additionally, there are some challenges that you can unlock in sort of an open worldish manner as you roam around in these kind of floating city environments. Plus, you have just straight up action-based combat, which is pretty fun, and you can follow along with the overarching story, which is pretty cool. So I was really enjoying my time with Gravity Rush. I got quite far in it. Unfortunately, I didn't finish the game again. It's kind of a recurring theme with some of these, but just by way of explanation, I also have was splitting my time on handhelds with console gaming as well. And I would say in some ways I prefer console gaming. Not that I think like the handheld experience is really lessened, but I'm used to it. I'm used to just kind of sitting down on my couch going, hey, I want to play a game, and I fire up my console. So my handhelds I've tended to play more when I'm traveling, if I'm on the road. If I'm at work and on a break or something like that. And my last job too was, it paid fairly well, so I had some disposable income that I used to buy games that I wanted to play. So one of the things that I think happened is I'll have a game like Gravity Rush that I'll be playing, and in the meantime have picked up maybe another 3 or 4 games that I just didn't really get around to playing until I started playing some other game and just have never come back to those. Those being things like Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. One of those games that I think I kind of picked up because, sometimes you just want to have more games in your library. A game has just come out, and I wanted to see what this was like. This is kind of part of the initial Vita run of games that, I would say are what everyone points to when they're sort of talking about the Vita and its success or lack thereof, where it's really kind of a home console experience in the handheld. You have it's a slightly scaled down version, but it's really very similar looking to the like PlayStation 3 Assassin's Creed games, which I think is pretty cool. But I played some of this. It was pretty fun, but I just didn't get all that far in it. I also picked up Shinobido 2, Revenge of Zen. I don't even know if I've played this at all, but it looks like a ninja action game, so that's pretty cool. And developed by Spike, it seems like maybe before they were Spike Chunsoft, and published by Bandai Namco Games. So definitely something that I think is probably going to be good once I get around to checking it out. Another cool thing about the Vita that, unfortunately it's not quite the same experience on the 3DS, is that the Vita is region-free and the games are all region-free for it. So it's really no problem to import games for it and play them on it. The 3DS, unfortunately, is region locked, so that's not a possibility. You really need to get foreign hardware if you want to play games from a different region. But the first game that I imported for it, which I unfortunately have just accepted at this point that I'm not going to play, is Seal No Surge. As far as I know, this is a kind of a spin-off of the Artanelico series. This is developed by Gust, and it's, from what I can tell, an interaction kind of simulation game. You have this one character, you can interact with them, you're kind of trying to restore their memories, and it has this interesting sim aspect where it's like when it's night in real life, it's night in the game. When it's day in real life, it's day in the game. That kind of thing. It seems really interesting, but I don't think I'm going to come back to this and really put much time into it. But it was the first game that I imported, just kind of wanting to see what was happening with the system in Japan, and I've enjoyed having that opportunity throughout the system's lifespan so far. You'll see some more of those import games. Next game that I was really excited about seeing is Sorcery Saga: Curse of the Great Curry God. This is a spiritual successor to the Mado Monogatari series by Compile. This is, of course, developed by Compile's successor, Compile Heart, and Idea Factory. So you're talking the same team here that brings us the Neptunia games, of which I'm a very big fan, which I'm very happy is very well supported on the Vita. But this is a little updated to a roguelike dungeon crawler. And I'm not very familiar with roguelikes. I got a little ways into this game and just put it down and I haven't picked it back up again, but very interested in checking out some more of that sometime. Um, Next up, we have one of those games that probably distracted me strongly from some of these other games that I haven't gone back to, which is Virtue's Last Reward, part of the Zero Escape series, the same as 999 on the DS. I had never played 999, but as soon as I started playing this game, I could not put it down. I got so sucked into this. It's what I like to call a Japanese-style adventure game. Some people would call this a visual novel. It is, maybe more of a digital comic in terms of, being very story-based and a lot of branching story paths and things like that. Additionally, though, it really is a puzzle game. You have these escape the room puzzles that you have to solve, and you're really going to be using your brain here. A lot of like kind of logic puzzles and stuff that are really quite challenging. But it's very satisfying to solve them on your own. I will admit that I did look up the answers to a handful of the puzzles just to help me progress through the story. But once you get the hang of the kinds of puzzles that they have in the game, you can do a lot of these, or ideally all of them on your own. It's so much fun. It's just a great, interesting game. The story goes in very weird directions. The one sticking point I would say is, it's an unconventional type of story progression, so it may take a little bit for you to kind of get your head around that. I had to kind of get over a hump in regards to that, but so much fun. Very, very good version of the game as well. It is available on the 3DS. But I really like the Vita version. It is considered by a lot of people to be the superior version, just in terms of the clarity of the screen and the images, and just the performance in general. Next up, we have Persona 4 Golden. This, especially early on, was considered by many people to be kind of the killer app on the Vita. I really have no experience, I guess, like I was saying about Shin Megami Tensei, with that series. So Persona 4 Golden here is my first Persona game, and I played about 10 hours of it, and I think that was getting in my way a little bit. I have played games by the same team like Catherine, which also had a bit of a learning curve for me. So maybe it's just a similar experience with this game. But I did like Catherine very much. I know they can make games that I enjoy. I just felt playing the game like I just didn't quite understand how the whole system was working, and it just wasn't gelling for me. So hopefully I'll go back and play this game some more. But suffice to say, it's a really interesting seeming Japanese RPG with an interesting kind of suspenseful story that I think it seems pretty great. Next up, this is one of those games, again, that I spent a lot of time playing. I finished this, I only finished one of the routes on it, but that's Criminal Girls Invitation. Now, again, this one I imported. It was actually a gift from one of my friends, so technically they imported it. And I loved this game. It was so much fun. A really unique, kind of unusual RPG style battle system. It kind of deceptively simple at first. I think gets more complicated and challenging and interesting as the game goes on. This does have a little bit of a gimmick as well, in that the way that you level up the characters. This takes place essentially in hell. You have this collection of female characters. They've all essentially died and been banished to hell, but they're in a kind of purgatory. And in order to level them up, you will motivate them, I think is how they called it in the North American localization of the game. But you essentially punish them, and it's like it's done like a mini game sort of a thing. So it's interesting. You have a kind of a sort of a BDSM style feeling to that aspect of the game. And but aside from that, it's kind of a romantic adventure game, in that you're going to be playing through the game, and one of the characters is going to kind of become your knight, so to speak. You kind of you end up focusing on one of those characters, and and you're gonna get like a good ending with them, which is really cute. You sort of end up being a couple at the end of the game, and I think it's really nice. It's sweet and it's fun, and I just enjoyed this game a whole lot. Now, I will take just a moment to mention, I guess, the obvious thing, which is that when this game was brought over to North America, I really blame just horrible rags like Kotaku that really I don't think do good journalism. They do a lot of clickbaity stuff. They really try to there's just not a lot of integrity, I think, in the things that they do, for kind of inciting people to, get up in arms about some of the changes that they made to the game. This is the Japanese version, and I can tell you that there's pink fog over the punishment scenes. In the Japanese version as well. A lot of people are under the mistaken impression that that was only in the localized version, that it was added in. A lot of stuff. There was a lot of misinformation around it. But, suffice to say, I think that there can be some cultural differences, just in terms of, content that can be looked at as, being more sexual here. And, I think people are just less comfortable with that in some ways. And, and so, localizers are going to be in a position of having to try to consider what is going to be well received and appropriate for our culture versus, other cultures. So so yeah, I think it's exciting though, because we ended up getting on this system localizations of games like this that I never would have expected would be localized. So we're going to see a little bit more of that as we progress. Another game here that I dearly loved and I played from beginning to end, another one with character roots. This is also essentially a romantic adventure game. We're talking Hyperdimension Neptunia producing Perfection. This is, essentially a spin-off of the Neptunia series. For those of you who may not be familiar, it's a series of RPG games that feature a lot of cute girl characters, but mostly it's they're like anthropomorphized video game consoles and such. A lot of times there's anthropomorphized versions of video game companies. The developers themselves, Compile Heart and Idea Factory, are featured as characters in the games, as well as many other companies. This game in particular, like I said, it's kind of more of a romantic adventure game, and it does have a bit of a simulation element in that you're training the characters to be like pop stars, so they're gonna sing, they're gonna take vocal lessons, they're gonna appear on like the radio, and things like that. And so you're gonna kind of be scheduling their days and their activities, and then you're gonna be able to perform at in venues at certain times. So there's a music aspect to it. There's a handful of songs in these. One of the things I think is really cool. There's only a maybe 4, 5, 6 main songs, but each character sings them. So they had to record like a version of each of the songs from each of the characters, and there's tons and tons of voice acting in this, which I think is great. The stories, again, they're so sweet and cute. Being able to play through, and you just get to know the characters a lot better, especially if you're familiar with them from the other games. Just getting to go through a whole route with any of the characters, Vert, Blonde, Neptune, Noir. They're wonderful. It's actually, maybe it sounds, I don't know how it sounds, but I really enjoyed like getting to know these characters and spend more time with them. It really helped me to just kind of get into the characters of like Vert and Blonde in particular more, because you only see so much of them in the games, and so they really fleshed them out in this, which I think is great. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that game. Next up we have Valhalla Knights 3. This is a series of games that I've become very interested in since I discovered one of them on the Wii, and this was coming out shortly after I discovered that game, and I said, "Wow, I really want that." Very cool. For the first two games, I believe, were released on the PSP, and you can download them for PSN. So I believe I did purchase both of those games, I think, but I haven't really played this. I did try it out, and just from the start, I love the style, like the world and the characters and everything. It seems really dark fantasy and just very like a very unique sort of world in these games. So very interested in playing some more of this one, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Another game here that I imported. This is one published by Sega. It's a rhythm game called Utagumi 575. I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's a Vocaloid-based game. I don't know that it's based on any Vocaloids that are necessarily publicly available as in terms of the Vocaloid software, but the singing is all Vocaloid, and it's based on these two characters. And essentially, what you do is you kind of improv the lyrics. So you have to, as you are sort of playing through with the rhythm, you have to like kind of pick the right syllables to kind of match in with the words that are coming up on the screen. So it's pretty challenging. Your Japanese has to be fairly good to play this, and I was doing all right, but I think it wasn't quite the sort of game that I was expecting, and it is a little bit challenging to play. So I haven't played as much of it as I could have, but again, I'm just really enjoying being able to try these games out on the system. Next up, we have another game here that I would say is probably very high up there on a lot of people's lists, another killer app, so to speak, on the system, and that is Trigger Happy Havoc Danganronpa. I have only gotten the first game, and I have just not played a lick of it. Again, one that I'd like to get back to, but this has spawned a sequel that came out not long after, maybe a year after this one, if that. And there's also another spin-off that has come out since then. It's like Danganronpa, I don't know, Danger Girls or something like that. It's an action game. So, this seems like a very successful series that people really enjoy. I think it has some hints of sort of the Zero Escape Virtues Last Reward type setting to it, but I don't know much about it other than that. So very interested to check that out at some point. Next up, we have a import game here called Super Heroine Chronicle. I was very excited about this game. It combines a lot of things that I like. One, it has strategy RPG gameplay, specifically the same kind of gameplay that you're going to find in the Super Robot Wars games and the Queen's Blade games available on the PSP. So you have that kind of gameplay, and then it's also one of those kind of anime character mashups. So you have things like Dejiko from Digicarrot. You've got like Louise from Zero Note Skyma and Sonico, which is like Nitro Plus's mascot character, and things like that. So a handful of characters that I recognize, some characters from other series that I don't necessarily. A couple of a handful of unique characters made just for the game. I was very excited about this. Unfortunately, I think it didn't quite live up to my expectations, just in that I played for a certain amount, and that was enough for me at the time. So again, a game I may come back to at a later point. Next, this is starting in on the flood of Neptunia games, I guess, aside from producing perfection. We have Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1. Now, I don't have Rebirth 2 or Rebirth 3. Those have come out, and I will likely get them. But specifically Rebirth 1, they're remakes of the games that appeared on console. For me, I played the first Neptunia on PlayStation 3, but just a little bit. By the time I was ready to come back to it, the second one had come out, so I got that and played that instead. Really liked it. But I never really went back to the first game. So this takes all of the kind of gameplay advances and kind of streamlined gameplay that they had done, and retrofits it into the first game. I just finished it, actually. I've just been playing it over the past few days. It's so much fun. I think in terms of the gameplay mechanics, in some ways it can be a little challenging. Like you do have to grind just a bit in this one, but I really don't think that's a bad thing, considering like how they made the just kind of collecting the items and stuff from the various dungeons. Really a key aspect of progressing through the game, and it's not hard to level. So I love these games. I think they're great. Another gift here that I have is Final Fantasy X and X-2. It's tough for me to necessarily pick, but Final Fantasy X is definitely right up there as one of my favorite Final Fantasy games ever. My experience with the Final Fantasy series is, I think, quite a bit different from a lot of people's. I really loved the first game on the NES, but I never really had a Super Nintendo much when it was contemporary. I did pick one up and I did play some of Final Fantasy 3/6, and I just couldn't really get into it. So then you flash forward to 7 comes out, and lots of people that were really Final Fantasy fans from the Super Nintendo jumped ship with Square Enix to the PlayStation and went crazy over Final Fantasy VII. I wasn't one of those people. I just never played the game. But people loved it so much that once 8 came out, I was like, well, let me check the series out again. It seems pretty cool. It's like kind of sci-fi-ish, the twist on it. And 8 was all right. I'd never really played 9, but 10 was sort of the first one that, aside from 8, that really got me back into the series. I finished it. I really loved it. Even the story I thought was pretty interesting, and the gameplay is great. So really excited to have this HD remaster of it. I just haven't really played it. I certainly have played the game before, so I wasn't really in a rush. It was a gift from a friend, and I really appreciate it. I'll definitely come back to playing this, and I'm going to enjoy playing it on the handheld. I think that's a really cool opportunity. Next up, this is a game that I imported just because I couldn't wait for it to be localized. Another Neptunia game in the series here. This is Cho Megami Shinko Noir Gegishin Blackheart, otherwise known as like Hyper Devotion Noir something, when it was released here in North America. Love this game. Absolutely love it. Unfortunately, I haven't finished it. I did stop playing partway through for whatever reason, and I haven't quite finished it up. I'm like 70% done, maybe something like that. But I love this game. It's a spin-off. Noir is the main character, and it has a whole ton of other anthropomorphized like video game company series characters, and it's a strategy RPG developed by Sting. It's great. The humor is really funny. Maybe it started off pretty strong, so I was hoping for a little more like laugh out loud moments. But the ones that I really laughed out loud at they just tickled my funny bone. It was so great, and the gameplay is solid. It's really good. So I just was so happy to be able to import this and to be able to see these games coming out over here. That's the thing, is I knew. Despite whatever the perception is here, or however Sony has handled the PSP in this region, or I should say, sorry, the PlayStation Vita, that the Japanese developer support for it is and is going to be strong. So what's nice is not only am I importing these games and playing them, but they're being localized here because they're kind of what's available for the system, and people are buying them. So I'm not going to complain about that. Next up, we have Cho Jigen Action Neptune U, which is the action game here. This one is developed by Tamsoft, which is the developer of the One-Chanbara games and the what are they? The Senran Kagura games, which are also, it's another series I don't even have on the Vita, but that's a popular one. And it's it's just an action kind of beat 'em up game with the characters from Neptunia. So it's great to see them branching out, not being afraid to do like a lot of these sort of side story games, because the characters I think are so much fun in these games that it's great to see them mix the gameplay up a little bit and still have you able to interact with all these wonderful characters. So I played some of this. This has been localized here now, so you can very easily acquire it. It seems really great. I just haven't gotten that far into it. So next up, these are pretty much all games that I haven't spent a lot of time playing, so I'm going to be able to go through these pretty quickly. Freedom Wars. I wasn't super interested in this game to start off with, but I watched one of my friends play it, and it sold me on it. I love the visual style of this. It just looks really, really cool. The world building seems very interesting, and it just seems like a fun action game, so you can't really go wrong with that. Next up, this I believe is cross-platform on the 3DS and Vita. Conception 2: Children of the Seven Stars. This is an RPG game. I believe it's kind of a dungeon crawler. It has kind of a funny gimmick mechanic where you have children with the various characters in the game, and then the children, you can kind of train them and you use them in your party, I guess, in battle. So that seems pretty interesting. Demon Gaze. This is actually something that I got the special edition of. Again, this is a dungeon crawler. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it seems pretty cool. Akatakawa Games. Now, I don't know if that's the same as the developers of Natural Doctrine, which is an excellent game. You can also get that on the Vita, but I did pick that one up on the PlayStation 4. I also got Hatsune Miku, Project Diva F second. Very, very big Hatsune Miku fan in general, Vocaloid fan in general. But I had played the first Project Diva game on the PS3, and I wanted to try the next one out on the Vita. Suffice to say, I actually don't prefer it on the Vita. I like it on the console, so I picked it up on the console also, but I do still have my Vita version. Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters. This is published here by Axis. Developed by Arc System Works. Actually, that's very cool. I didn't know that. This just seems really interesting. I haven't played it, but it's kind of, again, one of those adventure style games. So they actually even break it up. They say it's like an adventure part. There's a 5 senses system, and then you have battle. It seems very like sort of paranormal, supernatural kind of modern day adventure story with some some battle elements to it. It seems very cool, and I can't wait to get around to checking that one out. Next up is another import here, and this may open up another conversation. This is Moe Chronicle. Now, this is the, as far as I know, spiritual successor to Monster Monpiece, which is a game that I also got on the Vita. So these are just my physical releases. These are the retail releases in boxes that you'd be able to walk into a store or pre-order from someplace and have them, have it physically in your hand. I have gotten a handful of digital-only games, or maybe not even digital-only, but digital versions of games on the Vita. Things like a Black Rock Shooter, that I believe was a digital-only, Monster Monpiece, a digital-only. Monster Monpiece essentially is it's like a card-based kind of strategy game for the most part. But the gimmick, of course, is that the characters, sort of like the cards that you get, they're all these pretty girl characters, and you level them up by like rubbing the screen. So it's like you're touching the girls essentially. It's a little juvenile, but it's fun, and I enjoy it. So Moe Chronicle, I wanted to check out. It seems like a little more fleshed out, like RPG, maybe like sort of a dungeon RPG, with a similar kind of thing. These kind of cute and sexy characters, and you can you can rub them to level them up and things like that. So very interested in checking that one out. I haven't played it at all, but I had to import the Asian version. Now it does have English, has English subtitles, I believe, to it, but I kind of want to make a point that on a few things here. So one is that you sleep in the bed that you make. When Monster Monkey Peace came out, it's possible that it just didn't sell well enough to warrant a localization, and that's perfectly valid. In fact, that's probably likely. But people also made a big stink about some of the cards being altered. Now, personally, I'd like for us to just kind of get over it a little bit. If you have a game like this that's just sort of explicitly is what it is, it's doing what it's doing, and to kind of have to water it down a little bit and not let it just sort of like just sort of be 100% what it is. I get that. I mean, that's a little bit it's a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit, it feels kind of unnecessary, etc., etc. But at the same time, I think again, these developers and these localizers need to take sort of cultural norms into consideration, and you know, I think that it's possible that all of this uproar led to this game in the series not being localized. I do maintain that that your, I don't know, your vote, your opinion, your your whatever it is, it doesn't hold a lot of weight when you don't buy the games that these people, are going out on a limb to officially localize. It's all well and good to have your opinion about it, but if you don't buy the game and then voice your opinion, all you're really saying is we're not going to buy these games, so they don't come out here. Now, we're in a similar situation with Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. Now, that's an interesting situation. I think it's kind of a can of worms, but again, my main thoughts on that are, one, the original games. I mean, I think the first one did pretty well, but the second one I don't know did all that well. I've heard other people speculating this, that it just didn't sell that well, and it's entirely possible that Tecmo Koei were just kind of trying to make up their minds if they wanted to release it here, and decided, you know what, we don't think demand is high enough. Fair enough. For better or worse, there were some even official comments from the company that were, saying that they were also taking into consideration how certain games are being received and scrutinized for their portrayals of women and things like that. For the record, I would like to say that I really appreciate people thinking and talking and speaking critically about video games. I don't see that as a problem. I mean, and if it has to do with gender or feminism, or portrayals of female characters or things like that, I totally I welcome that, because I just find it interesting. There might be some things I disagree with. Some of it may depend on the context, but what I find really disappointing is the kind of the knee-jerk reactions that that I see people having. And what I mean by that is reactions that are just completely reactionary, emotional, where no thought is put in. People aren't necessarily responding to like the words that people are saying, the message that they're delivering, the specific things that they're talking about, but they're extrapolating from those and reacting to their own worst fears. And I don't think that is useful for anybody. If Koei Tecmo actually decided not to release Dead or Alive Extreme 3, which is a volleyball game, and kind of but really more of kind of like a beach vacation simulator. You have characters from one of their popular series. You can get swimsuits for them and dress up. They kind of play a bunch of mini games on the beach basically, and it's just kind of an excuse to to show off a lot of their beautiful characters. And if they're being sincere in that, they are also, I think, overreacting, and they're erring on the side of caution. And I don't think that that's necessary. They can accept that there is criticism. People are talking about certain things. If they release this game, that gives people the opportunity to speak critically about it, and they can choose to listen to that criticism. They can choose to heed it or not. They can could make changes to the series, or they could not. There's something to be said for people saying, okay, we can listen to something, and then make our own decision. So it kind of pains me to see them, not. It doesn't really seem like they're making their own decision. It sounds like they're just sort of like, uh, sort of playing this off, sort of pawning this off on this excuse. And so we don't really know. We don't know exactly what the issue is with that. But suffice to say, you can import the game when that comes out. I will be doing that. And I'm looking forward to that game. So, but it's too bad, I think, when people fly off the handle. Also, not the game companies, but the fans themselves, over these perceived fears that they have. Because I think that those can be unfounded, and it leads us to things like Moe Chronicle here having to import the English subtitled Asian version, because you guys didn't really support Monster Monpiece when it came out. So I think that's the situation that you can get into sometimes. That was a big long tangent that I went on. To my final game, which is honestly a similar kind of game. And I do forgive people to a certain extent for, kind of calling the PSP like a JRPG machine, or it's sort of like, a weeaboo machine, and it has a bunch of games with like cute anime girls in it, because, it has quite a number of those, and I like them. Again, we're talking the kinds of games that Japanese developers are making for this system, and interestingly enough, like I said, they're being localized because they're the games that are available, and I like them. I'm not going to apologize for that, and I don't think anybody else has to. We have Dungeon Travelers 2, the Royal Library, and the Monster Seal. I mentioned before that this is the Two-Heart Dungeon Travelers game. This is a remake of the version on the PSP, and that is my sort of quote-unquote final game in my my PS Vita library. I do have the English special edition, the North American special edition of Criminal Girls as well. I didn't grab that one because I showed off the Japanese version. But there's a whole lot of games on this system that I really enjoy. I do, like I said, really like Japanese developed games, that sort of anime aesthetic, a lot of these, the style of gameplay that you find in these games. So I'm really having fun, just kind of being involved in the handhelds this generation. It's really exciting for me, and I'm finding a lot of cool gameplay experiences. Now that I have this big pile of games here, I'm looking forward to taking some time to go back and play some of them that I haven't played, and hopefully just kind of again, moving forward, I'll probably have to be just a little pickier about exactly which new titles I pick up. But I think the future is bright for this system, and I hope that that you guys are, giving the 3DS and the Vita the benefit of the doubt, not being too closed-minded about them, and take a look at what's available for them. There's a lot of really good games for them, and I think they're wonderful systems to game on this gen. So that is it. Thank you for sticking with me for close to an hour here, 50 minutes, and I hope that you'll join me again for more video game and anime related videos. Thanks for watching.